What's going on YouTube? Evan here with Cloud9 Aquariums, back for another tank update. Ta-da! Welcome to the Dining Room 40 Cube. So with this tank, it's a little more easy for me to kind of just talk about it with everything kind of set up here, and then we can get into the nitty gritty. I'll do some little B-roll shots so you can actually see the up close and personal as I'm talking about it. But we'll switch back and forth and do all that fancy video editing stuff that everybody's doing nowadays on YouTube. So, the Dining Room 40. What is it? It's a 40-gallon cube. Measurements. Ooh, what are the measurements? Let's find out. So it's about 24 inches tall, 20 inches wide, 18 inches deep. It is an awesome size to kind of just fit in a little space that we had going on here. Gives you that depth to get some real tall plants in here, some extra swimming space, and a nice volume for everybody, so you can actually have a decent stock in here as well as grow some really cool plants. So because of the dimension of this tank, it was really crucial to get some tall plants because it is a tall tank, and if you ran it kind of low, you would just have so much swimming space up here and it wouldn't really look right. So because of that depth, we chose a lot of tall plants and it worked out really, really well. Couldn't be happier with the design. We've got a nice piece of driftwood in the center that's kind of angled out. Again, rule of triangles, folks. It's what we use in all the tanks and it works out perfectly. We got a nice piece of driftwood here with some Java fern on it and some moss on this side as well. Back in this corner, we've got a red marbled sword. It's still kind of growing in, but I'm hoping eventually it's going to take up this whole corner. And I'll show you in these clips right now. It's beautiful. Surrounding it, got a couple regular Amazon swords. Again, those are just growing in. Those were actually recent additions to it. So they kind of did their first initial melt back as they were rooting in. And now they've got a lot of fresh growth coming up. So this nice corner right here should really blossom within the next month or two. Over in this corner right here, I've got a nice clump of Hygrophila angustifolia. Say that 5 times fast. I can't even get through it once. Let's be honest. I've clipped this like 5 times now. But it's nice because it has that nice flowy long leaf. It's a different variety that's in the 180. This one's got a little bit longer of a leaf. It's definitely a taller plant, and it loves the lower lighting in this tank. In this corner over here, got 2 of the Crinum calamitratums, one of my absolute all-time favorite plants. I feel like everybody who sees this plant, if you've never seen it before in real life, it just instantaneously becomes one of your favorite plants. It's just so unique. It has a really thin leaf to it. It's real wispy and it flows so nice in the tank. You know, right here in this tank, we've got a lower flow system, but it does have a spray bar going across the whole top and the back. Again, I'll show you later on in the video when we go through the whole rigmarole of the life support systems on this tank. But it really brings the nice flow up to the front so you can see the leaves over here moving and the Hygrophila. And then the Crinum just kind of comes up and arches over. And it's just such a good look. We've got some, I believe I've already talked about this, but we've got some Java fern down in the corner here. And then to round things out, we've got some crypts just kind of carpeting the bottom down here. In terms of livestock, it's definitely well stocked and the colors are all very contrasting, and it's just such a great tank to watch while you're eating. So this is actually in the dining room. You sit across from it and we'll just sit there and watch it while we're eating dinner and stuff like that. And it's just great because there's so much little pop of color and you can see it from across the room, and it always just draws people right into it because the livestock in this tank is very, very important. So for the cleanup crew in this tank, we've got 1 single bristlenose pleco and an upside down catfish that has an absolute personality of its own. You'll see him just chilling. I'll show you in the video because I'm sure I'll get him to come out. But he's just a real chunky guy and he swims around. And sometimes he's upside down, sometimes he's not, but he's got a whole bunch of personality. He's an old fish too. If you watched my 180 update video, you've already seen the female of this variety. Well, here's the males that were beating her up. So I've got 4 Congo tetras in here, all males. They're getting close to actually finally being to the mature size, so their finnage is starting to get real nice and wispy. They're just absolutely beautiful fish. They have a nice glisten to them and the rainbow that just comes out really nicely under the lighting. That pop of color I'm sure you guys can see from across the room are the rosy barbs, and they're actually neon rosy barbs. they have this nice little gold tinge to them when the light hits them just right, but then the rest of their body just shimmers all this red. And some of them have a little bit of black speckling in them as well too. Very, very pretty fish. A little bit feisty when you get in there. They like to kind of nibble on you while you're cleaning the tank, so that's always fun. And then the biggest personality of this tank is the blue acara. And I'm sure you guys have seen him swimming around as I've been talking about this, and he stands out from across the room. He's such a beautiful fish, has an amazing personality, he's really fun to feed. I like to throw little floating plants in here sometimes, and he actually tries to sit there and hunt in them all day, and it's really, really fun. But he's been a great addition to this tank, and I could not be happier. And the final thing we gotta talk about with this tank is how are we running it. So as you'll see, I'm running the same exact lighting system as I am on the 180. This time we're just running a single strip. I'm running it at about 80% because all these plants like a little bit lower lighting, and it's been working out perfectly. This tank is a set it and forget it tank. I mean, truly, if I didn't do a water change in this tank in a month, I don't recommend it, but it does just fine. Not a lick of algae, everything's growing fantastically, the fish are fine, it's just the perfect amount of stocking to plant ratio, and the lighting is working out perfect. There's absolutely no CO2 in this tank, I'm not dosing any fertilizers in this tank, just water changes. Weekly 50% water changes. That's it. For the flow in this tank, we've got one of the Oasis thermo pumps in there. I believe it's called Oasis. I'm not really sure how you say it. Their thermo line of canister filter actually incorporates the heater right into the filter itself. So that way, again, I get this look where you don't actually see too much stuff going on in the tank without having a sump. Because it's just a standard tank, I like to be able to hide as much as possible. So having the heater down in the filter was a really, really good selling factor for me. We do have a spray bar running across the top, and for me that's been really nice because it actually helps to keep the surface scum from getting on the top of the tank, and it also gives me a nice even flow. I don't have one giant jet in the corner or on one side that's pushing everything to one side or the other. It gives me a nice rotational flow and it's smooth, so I really do enjoy running these in a lot of my tanks nowadays. We do have a glass top on this tank, which helps to keep the evaporation down, which again also allows me to push up my water changes a little bit longer if I do choose to do so. So the only thing left to do is to show you underneath. And as you can see, we've got a very basic setup going on here. It's just a canister filter with the heater built into it. And again, I'm running the Casa smart switches to be able to control all of my different plugs. So that's the 40 cube. And if you really gained some good value from this video, make sure you drop a like, leave me a comment, and definitely if you haven't already, you gotta subscribe because we're gonna be dropping a bunch more videos coming up very soon. We're gonna go into all the details, especially with the Casa smart switches, the filters, the lighting, all that jazz. So definitely stay tuned. And I hope this video brings you and your fish tanks a little bit closer to Cloud 9. If you guys got some inspiration from this video, make sure you check the description because I tried to link as much gear as possible so you can use it on your own tanks. And if you really want to get down and dirty, make sure you like and subscribe to this channel because we're about to drop a whole bunch more videos.